So, when we're talking about writer's block, essentially what that is when the creative juices of the mind are not flowing correctly through your body. And when someone is experiencing, or when a healthy Toastmaster is experiencing the creative flows, they have the creative juices coming straight out of their hands. But when it's blocked, it's not going anywhere. Left untreated, you can experience some severe symptoms like prolonged procrastination, unauthorized plagiarism, and in the worst cases, death. When we don't treat our writer's block, our hands could be swollen and we're not going to be able to get anything done, and we're just full of hot air. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the experience of writer's block. Now, I've been studying this for about 35 to 40 years. And writer's block is something that is a symptom of something deeper. There are root causes that lead to writer's block. And in my studies over the past 35 to 40 years, I have found that there are three main root causes that lead to writer's block. So the first main cause that we need to talk about is called diabetes. Now, diabetes is when you have this bad inner talk, this negative self-talk in your mind that says, I can't do it. There's nobody wants to listen to me. I have nothing of value to contribute. Sigh. And so diabetes is that inner talk that begins to prevent you from being able to write anything. You never try because you don't believe that you can. The only way to overcome diabetes is with a vaccine of respectivatus. Having respect for yourself and your unique perspective is one of the best ways to address that negative self-talk. So, if you have diabetes that's preventing you from writing, I encourage you to see our nurse before the end of the day to get a scheduled vaccine shot for it. Yep. The second root cause that will lead to writer's block is a little bit more aggressive. It's called scatterbrain septus. Yeah, it's very aggressive. It is something that cannibalizes your ideas. So when you sit down to write a speech, you begin to think of these creative ideas. And it's not that you don't have any, you have more than your brain can process. So you begin to write a speech, and then suddenly you have another idea, and another idea, and another idea, and they begin to compound and cannibalize each other. So one of the ways that we can diagnose this, if I could get a volunteer. Right here? Okay. So we're gonna have a quick listen to, and ma'am, what's your name?
Joan.
Joan. We're gonna have a quick listen to Joan's mind here to see if she has a case of scatterbrain septus.
A septus?
Scatterbrain septus.
A septus.
Oh, wrong button.
Well, that's cute.
Yeah, this is my daughter's.
I think it's your daughter's stethoscope.
It is.
Okay, a chair is your support system. It's a place of rest and relaxation.
By the way, your inner voice is very sexy.
The chair is like a metaphor for home or family. So the speech can be about my favorite chair, which over time grows and grows until it becomes a recliner and then a sofa, providing support and rest for all. Sofa. I gotta a stain off that sofa. I really should stop eating in front of the TV. That's what's killing our nation. I bet that would be a good speech. I could call it the couch potato epidemic, about the effects of TV on the eyes. Eyes. Oh, shoot. I need to add more ice cream to the grocery list. Kevin gets in a mood when he doesn't have his ice cream. I wish he would be more kind to his brother, or at least not hit him. Oh, another alert about a lost cat. I really don't like cats. Well, it's time to go to bed. I'll work on the speech tomorrow.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Joan. Let's give Joan a round of applause. That's a particularly aggressive case of scatterbrain sepsis. And as you notice, the ideas begin to cannibalize each other, fighting for that dominance in the mind. So one of the primary ways that I would treat an aggressive case of scatterbrain sepsis like this is 30 milligrams of discipline. I can get that prescription set up for you today. Now, when you take your 30 milligrams of discipline, it's going to be twice a day with food. But what you'll find is when you start taking discipline, you'll begin to feel a little bit better, a little bit more clear, but you have to put it into action in order for the drug to take effect. So 2 actions that I'm going to give you after you take your 30 milligrams of discipline. You're going to want to write this down. 1, write this down. Yep, that's the first one. You want to write it down. So when you sit down to create a speech, you want to make sure that you are writing your thoughts down. And that's not going to stop the cannibalizing thoughts from coming in. What do you do with those? You write it down. So if you have a grocery list, you have something that you remind yourself, something that you want to do, write it down, put it over here on another thought where you can address at another time. And then continue to write. Continue to write those ideas. And one thing that you'll notice when, for any of us who've been in Toastmasters for any long period of time, you have more thoughts than you can keep up with. Write them all down. I know that some of my first speeches ended up being 30, 40 minutes long. Just so many ideas. And then we have once we take those 30 milligrams of discipline, we have to shred them back a little bit. And as you're creating that speech and drafting the speech, you have to ask yourself, again, under the influence of the 30 milligrams of discipline, of these thoughts, what is my main point? What do I want to deliver? What do I want my audience to take away from the speech? And start cutting back on those ideas so that you can compact the speech into a 5 to 7 minute speech. That's for another day. However, that is something that we'll need to address. The second activity to help enact the drug of discipline is table topics. You'll have to find a practice near you, and I believe all of us are familiar with practices in our area where we can do table topics. But table topics is one of the best places to help fight scatterbrain sepsis, because that's the dominant place where scatterbrain sepsis manifests itself. So when you're given a table topic like your favorite ice cream, immediately you may have 2, 3, 4, 5 different thoughts attack your brain at the exact same time. And you say you want vanilla, but then as you're talking, you want to change it to chocolate, but then it's thinking strawberry, and now before you can even get into the first 10 seconds of your table topic speech, you've already lost your thought. So an activity to do with table topics, when you are given your next table topics topic, say the very first thing that comes to your mind and don't change your mind. Support, support, support. Even if the first thought that came to your mind makes no sense. Absolutely. What's your favorite ice cream? Elephants. Okay. We're on that ride, and you have got to support, support, support. You will find the creative juices begin to flow as your mind begins to do mental aerobics to justify why elephants is the best ice cream. And you'll begin to do that. And as you do these activities, you'll begin to get better and better and better at it. So I have to ask, favorite song, go. 30 milligrams of discipline for you. Favorite ice cream?
Chocolate.
All right, you are okay. Favorite music?
R&B.
R&B, all right. And favorite movie of all time?
Gone with the Wind.
Oh my goodness, yes. All right, so that is scatterbrain septus and our 30 milligrams of discipline. I have got prescriptions ready for everyone to address. Now, our third root cause is perhaps the most severe of all the root causes, and that is perspectivitis. Perspectivitis is very similar to diabetes. If you recall, diabetes attacks your mind so that you think you have nothing of value to offer. However, with perspectivitis, the person truly believes in their core that they have truly nothing to offer. They cannot think of a single experience to write about. They cannot think of a single activity or word or speech. There's just nothing there. Whereas with diabetes, the ideas are there, but then the self-talk immediately trashes it and says it's not good enough, it's bad. But with perspectivitis, a little bit more severe, there's just nothing. So the vaccine of respectivitis is not going to help with a case of perspectivitis, because the only way you can develop perspectivitis is by a prolonged exposure to an unexamined life. So when we're talking about perspectivitis and talking about examining your life, it's time to begin to journal. It's time to begin to read the news. It's time to begin thinking and sharing your thoughts, because when we have perspectivitis, we essentially have a lifetime of experiences that we go through, a lifetime of perspectives and thoughts that we have, but we never process them. We never take time to think through them. And once you do, you'll find that you have words to say. The words begin to come and you begin to be able to draft that speech, but you have to take the time to process your life. So if you are a busy body, you're constantly going everywhere, nonstop, 9 to 5, everywhere, go, 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 go. If you have a case of perspectivitis, you need to set aside some time to process. Process your day, process and think through your life. Think through your experiences. How did that make you feel when this happened? How did it make you feel when that person cut you off in traffic? Why are you upset today? Why are you sad today? Why are you happy today? And think about those things. And when you begin to examine your life, the words will begin to come. Now, in the most severe cases of perspectivitis, if you do all of those activities and you still have no words coming for you, it's time to start pushing your boundaries. It's time to start stepping outside of your comfort zone. Ask that girl, ask that boy out, or get rejected. Go to that concert. Do something that you would not normally do, and then process the experience. That is the most severe cases, but I promise you, when you step outside of your comfort zone, you cannot help but have thoughts and words to begin to develop. So those are the three main causes of writer's block that I wanted to talk to you about today. And the last thing that I wanted to share with you is if you are experiencing these minor symptoms of writer's block, to free your mind a little bit. So last activity for the day, go ahead and stand up. We're in our mind, we're trying to write a speech, we're trying to think of something and it's just not coming to us. What we want to do is take a deep breath in and out. Hands out, our writer's block hands are out. Let's wiggle them, let's shake them, and open your mouth and repeat after me. Excellent, thank you. So that frees your mind to break away the mundane, to think differently. Sometimes when we're writing a speech, the best way to draft that speech is to take a break. Thank you.
Fantastic. How about that? Larry Kokko-Melon, is he fantastic or what? And if I didn't mention it, we are recording this for posterity. And some people say, well, why couldn't it be online? And in our planning, we decided that, it's good to rediscover the old Toastmasters, the in-person aspect of it. So we do thank you if you came all the way from St. Petersburg or all the way from Zephyr Hills or Ohio for being with us today. And when I first was presented this idea by Stefan, and he said, well, let's dress up in doctor's coats and all that. And I said, seems a little ridiculous. But then I realized fundamentally that Toastmasters ought to be something that's fun. I've been doing it since 1997, and I know in many ways it has transformed my life. And there was a workshop that was supposed to be done today. It's going to be rescheduled by the advanced articulators. I literally got my job in Florida in 2003 because I was a Toastmaster. And when I went into retirement in 2013, I said to the CEO at the nonprofit, I'd become personal friends with George. I said, George, looking back, did you hire me because of Toastmasters? He said, absolutely. You gave me the impression that you could articulate a message about a not so well-known nonprofit and do it effectively. So I believe it's really real world. And it's not just about giving speeches on Wednesdays or on Mondays. It's about finding your inner passion, finding what the ideas are that you want to share with others. And I think Larry's identified, some of us hesitate at the beginning, but some of us could be Toastmasters 10, 15 years or more and develop all of a sudden writer's block. What am I going to talk about? What does my audience want me to hear? Our next presenter is a doctor with fabulous passion. He's actually a self-proclaimed, self-identified procrastinator. And I can relate to that. I waited 15 years before I first heard about Toastmasters, before I actually joined a club. The next presenter, Dr. Blah, 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 he actually became a Toastmaster 43 years after he heard about it. And what's interesting about Lane Jarsenbeck, he's not as focused on delivering speeches as much as he is about writing speeches. He puts a lot of effort into it. And one of the reasons why sometimes he goes over a little bit, he hasn't quite toned down his speeches as our first presenter recommended. So sometimes, just like myself, he has maybe a 10-minute speech in a 5-minute category. But he has some wonderful ideas. And Lane Jarsenbeck is the winner, the 2018 winner of the District 48 Humorous Speech Contest, which means he's pretty funny. And he's not sure about his credentials as a doctor, but he's going to share with us a little bit about brainstorming. Doctor?
Thank you, Dr. Moonlight. I thank you all for coming out today, but before I begin, I'd like to elaborate on 2 qualifiers. Number 1, if you hear me say the word speak or speaking, please know I also mean the word write, W-R-I-T-E. And if I say the word write, I also mean speak, speech, or presentation, as you might have in school or at work. I believe anything that you conceive of is worth writing down, and anything you write down is worth saying aloud. Even if your audience, such as a love letter or a poem, is only an audience of 1, if it comes from within you, it is worth saying aloud. Qualifier number 2. The first rule in life, there is an exception to every rule. What I'm going to try and attempt to, the experiences or the thoughts that I want to share with you, work for me. I ask that you try some of these exercises that I will be presenting to you. However, in the future, should you find something that works better, great, go for it. It is not about me, it is about you. I want you to learn how to make research and writing less daunting and more fun. And now, let's go to Lane's philosophy of writing. Quick, who was your first crush?
Who was my first one?
Your first crush.
Teddy.
Teddy.
Couch.
Very nice. Kitty couch. And yours. Very nice. Okay. And artwork that was on your wall when you were 5 years old.
Every picture out of every magazine. They had like movie stars, celebrities. I had all types of stuff.
And what do you have on your walls now?
Paint.
We change over time, don't we? Artwork on your wall when you were 15.
Def Leppard.
All right. I wouldn't have thought that. Very nice. What do you have on your walls these days?
A lot of iron work.
Oh, not Iron Maiden, just ironwork. Oh, very nice. So anybody else have answers to any of these questions? First dance, for example, first dance. What was your first dance? What was the event that brought you to your first dance?
8th grade, junior high, prom, and we danced to Can't Fight This Feeling by REO Speedway.
Nice. Any special dance you tried, like electric slide, or did you just stick to the box step? And So everybody else have answers to some of the questions that I was asking? Everybody? Yeah? So what does this tell me? It tells me all that you are natural-born storytellers. You have something inside you. You have these stories, you have these memories, and if it comes from within you, it is definitely worth sharing. The fact that you were able to tell these stories already, aloud, to a group of strangers no less, is remarkable. And that's why I say if it comes from within you, it is worth sharing. So the thing that we need to do is to make writing and research less daunting, more fun, make it as natural as breathing itself. Dr. Kokko-Melon has gone over ways that we can just the adaptation of just writing down your thoughts, to remember to write these things down. Sometimes, how many people email on a more or less daily basis? Might I suggest email to posterity? Kids that you don't have yet, grandkids that you don't know yet, great-grandkids that are out there. Share these ideas, these memories that you have, because it may be experiences that they're going to have as well, that they will feel as though they were the only ones going through it. And yet they'll go back to this posterity, to this history, even if it's 300 years from now, to somebody else who went through exactly what, or are feeling what they're feeling at this present time. And it's just emailing. It's what we do naturally anyhow. And it's just an email to somebody that we haven't met yet, or maybe that we have met yet, and we can still share our feelings. So what I'd really like to get into now, beyond the habits, is finding the inspiration, or as we say in this workshop, how do we brainstorm? The roots of who we are started as when we were infants. It was our interaction with our toys, our pets, our family, and their traditions. They represent the roots of who we are. And we took that in, and we accepted it, and we created little bitty ideas for ourselves, how we felt, our victories, our tears, our phobias. They all developed from that point. And they became these straight little trees, and we had little branches, and this is how we talked to the rest of the world. As a few years go on, we gain a little bit of independence. We get to go to school, we learn to read, we develop new friends on our own. We meet their family, we learn about their traditions, their phobias, and suddenly our trunks of our trees, we're no longer saplings, we start to morph, and branches start popping out where they weren't there before. We see the world in a completely different way, and our branches are going from straight up to out, and we're experiencing more, and we're able to communicate with more people because we have more experience to communicate about. Suddenly, adult conversations at the dinner table or at the restaurant table are no longer as dull as they used to be because we understand it. Going on a few more years, we enter high school. That's some drama. We learn to drive. We have summer jobs. We join scouts. We go to college. And all of these experiences are far more complex, and they come at us at a much faster rate. And suddenly we are morphing. This is all of the experiences that we have inside of us. Our roots are still there, but we have juxtaposed all these concepts from the time we were infants until the time of right now. exactly who we are, and that brings out more branches, and the branches become fuller, and they go out into the world, and they just a big canopy of ideas and thoughts and beliefs and empathy and even apathy. And that is why I say what is within you is worth sharing, because somewhere there is an audience member out there, or a stadium full of audience members who are going through exactly what you're going through, and they would love to hear what you want to say, or what you have to say, or share what you have to say, because they can relate to it, and you can relate to them, and you will inspire them. And therefore, you should always have the courage to get up, because while we all are completely different individuals than each other, we all share many of the same basic ideologies and phobias and love interests and heartbreaks throughout our lives. Quick, what was your dream job as a child?
Nurse.
What do you do today?
Insurance.
Close, it's close. You sort of work together. We change, don't we? Favorite subject in school?
Me?
Yes.
I think English.
English? Oh. How were you able to use that in your present day career?
I write pretty well, I guess.
Good. Well, you didn't say pretty good, so pretty well. So obviously you do write pretty well. That's So what am I saying? I'm saying that the first sources of our inspiration are always from within us. Our memories, our ideas, our concepts, they're within us. And that should make your writing very, very easy. There are very few media classics out there. Anything from Leo Tolstoy's War and Peace to the script for Dirty Dancing was not conceived out of thin air. They were conceived from memoirs and life experiences. Therefore, you have a classic inside each one of you. And I think that's why Toastmasters offers our first speech as an icebreaker, because the icebreaker is all about you, and nobody is a greater expert on you than you. That said, there will come a time when you're going to get tired of writing about you. Or there will come a time, probably even sooner in the future, when your boss or your professor says, you're going to write a subject about this. You're going to do a presentation about this. Depending on your expertise in the field, a lot of your inspiration and the source of your material, the resource that you will use, is from within you. However, we still need to do research. We have old magazines, we have TV interviews that we can find, old newspaper articles. They're out there. And research can be thrilling. For me, it is. I can never learn enough. And especially if it's a subject that interests me, or if it's a subject that you need an A in, or that you can keep your job because of. That should be inspiration enough to get. I believe it was Vince Lombardi who said something to the effect of, find the passion, or you will be fired with great passion. Something of that nature. Something of that nature. So other ways to find the inspiration when it's not from within you, as I say, you can do the research. And sometimes it's just going to be something a little more abstract. So what you can do is remember a movie that you saw. How do you feel about it then? How you feel about it now? A documentary that perhaps kind of set you off. You could go through a book of quotations and just skim through them until you find a quotation that you either really want to share with the world or you want to argue desperately against. And if that doesn't work, I suggest take a walk in nature or go for a canoe ride. You will find a plethora of ideas that create the synapse in your head, in your mind, and get things motivated for you. So now that we found, what I'd like for you to do now is for about 90 seconds, write down in your sheet 3 topics that come to mind that you think you might want to write about. And if you can't think of anything right hand, I apologize for my handwriting. It stopped in the 5th grade. But here are some other ideas that you might be able to use. Just jot down a couple of ideas, whatever sets in your mind. And everybody find them? We're good. All right, go ahead and finish up that last sentence or note. Because now comes the time when we all become doctors. We're going to become double majors, actually. What we're going to do now is what we need to do is find our words to the topics that we've just created or that we've just come up with. Words are the bones. They are the skeletal structure. They are both the structure and the support of whatever you want to write, say, or present. Therefore, where do we find these bones? Again, they're within us. They're in those articles out there. We've got to dig them up. We are now paleontologists. You've got to dig up those bones. You've got to find everything that you said. As Dr. Kokko-Melon had mentioned, you just start writing. Wherever it takes you, just start going on with it and on. But without structure, without the skeleton, your ideas will come out like squeezing a tube of toothpaste. Anybody here familiar with Goldilocks and the Three Bears? Without structure, everything just kind of comes out all at once. And the structure of the Goldilocks and the Three Bears, the story is always told in the same way, but without the structure, it'll come out something like this. Bears porridge, chairs, girl ran away, they came home. So you need the structure, you need to find that support. So where do we find these words? We dig them out of ourselves, we dig them out of the newspapers, and so for about 5 minutes, I think, I would like everybody to take from one of those topics or something brand new that might have inspired you now, and just write as many thoughts about one of those things on your paper or one thing that's popping into your head now. Take about 5 minutes, and let's start writing that. And for the rest of our staff, if you'd like to go and have a break, you certainly can. We do have another break coming up.
Say what we asked our audience members or our patients to do.
Anything you want to write, that's what you write.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. Whatever inspiring you at this moment, just mindstorm, just brainstorm, just go with it. Dr. Kokko-Melon had mentioned you're going to find your brain racing with ideas. Don't worry about a beginning, don't worry about an end, just write. Nurse Wright, how are we doing on time? Okay. Let's go ahead and slow down, just finish up that last thought. That's why they call me Dr. Blabberonanon, because I don't know when to stop talking. Everybody ready? See, look at that. See, all the heads are down. That's how much fun writing is. See, you didn't know that before. You thought you had writer's block, but you are all natural-born storytellers. Very good. All right, my paleontologists, have you dug up awful lot of bones there for us? Because now we're going to do what paleontologists also do. We're going to take those piles and we're going to organize them. We're going to figure out the T-Rex bones from the Stegosaurus bones from the Brontosaurus bones. Historical reference, personal opinions, descriptions of whatever topic that you've written. You pile them off, kind of organize them into small sectors. And from that point, you're going to take those little piles of information and then we become orthopedics, or orthopedicians, bone doctors essentially. And it's like the old song, the head bone's connected to the neck bone's connected to the shoulder bone's connected to something like the chest or the ribs or something. But that's how the song goes. We're going to find our structure, we're going to find our support. And that's really, we're going to find what sentence helps to support best. And I think that's where I'm going to leave you, because we have a doctor coming up here who is going to stick exactly what you write. He's going to help you stick your thoughts, stick your ideas to an amazing story that I know is within all of you. And with that, I thank you all for your time. Thank you.
I'm glad the hospital has Dr. Rambellonanon as on the staff. He's one of our key doctors. By show of hands, how many of you in Toastmasters have had a mentor? How many of you have been a mentor? Excellent, fantastic. I think it's a crucial ingredient to staying connected in Toastmasters. And about 10 years ago, any of you are my Facebook friends? Some of you might be. You're a little scared and say, well, I met this guy in person. We're Facebook friends. But about 10 years ago, Ivan Farkas got in touch with me on Facebook. He was the very first mentee I had in about 1998. When I first met him, we had pizza in Penn Station. He was a fabulous speaker, and I'm saying to myself, what help or what assistance am I going to give to him? He since became a one-man show off Broadway, became a district director in District 46 Toastmasters, and we first reconnected. Ivan said, you were fantastic as a mentor. I said, I was? What did I really need to share with you? He said, you helped my confidence. And it was a lesson I learned in day one. When you have somebody who's a mentor, it isn't necessarily someone who teaches you everything you need to know. It's maybe sometimes somebody who's telling you, attaboy, just keep doing that. Or maybe, as my mentor says, you could take your hands out of your pockets. I may end up sewing them together. My next presenter is Dr. Stop, also known as John Morse. And he is a distinguished Toastmaster 2 times over. He has participated in contests. What, are we going to take a time out? Are we going to take a time out because I'm talking too much, or we're going to take a time out, we're going to do something else?
A break for the participants.
A break for the participants. All right, by show of hands, participants, how many want a break? All right, let's have a break. I'm sorry I didn't read the schedule. It was such a scintillating introduction. I was